All right, we have a draft for this Friday inspired by Coach Gus Duggerton of the Big Cat college football video game. He is barnstorming through college football. No loyalty to any program, a new team every year, but a guy who you clearly would want to have a beer with. Taking the internet and social media by storm is Gus Duggerton. So today's draft, all-time NFL coaches you'd want to have a beer with. Big Cat, you came up with the trivia question. For me, if I get it right, I get the first pick. Go.
Okay, so we'll stay in the NFC North. The 2008 Lions went 0-16. Who were the starting quarterbacks for the Detroit Lions that year?
All of them?
Yeah.
Dan Orlovsky was one of them.
Yep.
Was he the only one? He didn't start all 16 games.
I'll give you a hint. There's three.
Many? There's three. How am I going to remember these other two schlubs? It's Dan Orlovsky and two other guys. I don't know. I'm not going to waste time on the show trying to remember who they were. Dan Orlovsky, Joey Harrington. He was probably gone by then. I give up. I give up. Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky, John Kitna. You should have gotten that one.
No, I shouldn't have. Who
Dante
else?
Culpepper.
Dante Culpepper. I forgot he ended up in Detroit after his time with the Miami Dolphins. All right, you get the first pick. That was rigged.
All right,
go ahead.
First pick. I'll go with a legend. I'll go from the legendary status. I'll go with John Madden. The guy has been football for his entire life. He knows football. He's been in the booth. He's got the video game. He's won Super Bowls. I would love to get on the bus with John Madden and have a beer with John Madden. That would be incredible. The storytelling would be out of this world.
I don't disagree with you at all. I am just stunned that as a Bears fan, you would do that when you've got multiple to choose from.
I was hoping that you would. I was hoping you would go. I was hoping you had something else. I was trying to draft for like strategy here.
No, I'm going Mike Ditka, baby. Mike Ditka.
I've had a drink with Mike Ditka though, so I've already checked that off the list.
So he's exempt because you had a beer with Mike Ditka. I'm not talking about Mike Ditka now. I'm talking about Mike Ditka back in the days when he had a perm, when he wore the sweater vest with bears on it, and when he could kick your ass with the flick of a wrist. That's the Mike Ditka I want to hang out with, the 1985 Mike Ditka. So make sure it's like young Elvis, old Elvis. I want young Mike Ditka, or at least kind of middle Mike Ditka, not the player. I want the guy who was coaching the Bears in the 80s.
Okay, so I know this was part of the strategery, which is the word of the day. I knew that I was going to have one of these guys. So I'll then take Buddy Ryan, because Buddy Ryan would be an all-time beer to have with. So I knew I was going to get one of the two. Had to go John Madden first for value, because now, Mike, if you're paying attention, which I hope you are, pay attention, I am putting together an incredible draft.
But Buddy Ryan, I'm surprised you take Buddy Ryan. He's the arch rival. He's the nemesis of Mike Ditka. I mean, what a rumble we would have.
I'm talking about stories.
If we're at the bar, and I got Ditka with me, and you got Ryan with you, and something goes down,
we whoop you guys.
No, not even close.
Yeah, we
not
whoop
even
you
close.
guys.
No. Not unless you got Rex and Rob as backup. It's not happening. And not because of anything I'm going to do. I'm just going to let Ditka take care of everything. All right, next one for me, and this can go so many different ways. We recently had some sound on the show of 93-year-old Bud Grant, Hall of Fame Vikings coach, and here's why I want to have a beer with him. This is very simple. He doesn't like Vince Lombardi. And it came through in the quote that we played on the show. He thinks that Don Shula was the better coach. He has described Vince Lombardi as a tyrant. He said on an appearance with Paul Allen and Fran Tarkenton a couple of weeks ago on KFAN in Minneapolis that there was something about Lombardi he didn't like. I'd want to get to the bottom of that. I want to know what Bud Grant didn't like about Vince Lombardi. That would be the goal of beer number one. And then beer number two would be like hunting and fishing tips, because I really don't know much about those things. I'd want to get some advice on dog training. Bud Grant, very big on that. I'd want to be able to better train my own dog and get some tips from him there. And then just talk about the days of playing in Metropolitan Stadium and wearing shirt sleeves and having his Vikings players freeze their butts off to the point where they were numb to it literally and psychologically, where it didn't affect them. So give me Bud Grant for round two.
Okay, I've dominated this draft. This has been an absolute floor wiping of Mike Florio.
Just Listen,
Per
okay,
usual.
you came
usual.
up with a crappy trivia question that no one could have
usual.
answered. You came
Per
up with
usual.
a trivia question that no one could have answered. All right, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Last one. Another easy one. Because I'm going stories. I want storytellers. You know, John Madden knows
You think Bud
the
Grant
history
doesn't have stories? You don't think
John
Bud Grant
Madden
has
knows the
stories?
history of football. Buddy Ryan is a fiery guy who would tell you all kinds of stories. And you remember that 30 for 30 about the 85 Bears and how much those defensive guys love Buddy Ryan. That would be incredible. The best storyteller is still on the list here. And he's probably the funnest guy on this list too, Mike. Do you want to guess who I'm going to pick?
No. Go ahead. Just
I'm
make
going to
your
take
pick.
Jimmy Johnson. I'm going to take Jimmy Johnson. Tell me all about the 90s Cowboys. He is an unbelievable storyteller, and I can guarantee you Jimmy Johnson would be a fun guy to have a beer with.
Would he really tell you all the stories? You just assume that these people are going to open up to you. You assume.
Yeah.
Why do you think they're going to open up to you and tell you all these stories?
Have you ever seen me conduct an interview? One of the greatest interviewers of all time.
Okay. You were kind of humble and you were kind of different. You were a little reserved earlier in the program, but now here we are in the final 15 minutes. You're kind of back to being the same jerk that you are every Friday. Every Friday.
The coffee
This is
hit.
what I deal with every single Friday. All right, I am gonna go with one that we've been reminded of here, and I'm gonna give Pete Demolitis the credit for this one because again, I could have gone a lot of different directions, and there are a lot of guys I thought about, but Bum Phillips, one of the legendary coaches of all time.
His name's Buddy Ryan. I already have Bum Phillips. His name's Buddy Ryan.
I got the original Buddy Ryan. I got Bum Phillips. Buddy Ryan didn't wear a cowboy hat. Here's a quote from Dr. Z's book. Once in San Diego, Sid Gilman called in his defensive assistant, Bum Phillips, to watch a particularly meaningful piece of footage. He ran it over countless times while Bum Phillips yawned. Bum, Gilman eventually said, "This is better than making love." Said Phillips in response, "Either I don't know how to watch film or you don't know how to make love." So that's Bum Phillips. And I'd want to hang out with Bum Phillips. And let me tell you, I'll take Bum Phillips instead of Mike Ditka. You can have Mike Ditka and Buddy Ryan. I have a feeling that Bum Phillips is going to come around and throw everybody out the window if push comes to shove. You got any more? You want to do one more round?
I mean, you got fed that, so that wasn't you.
That's all right. At least I admit it.
Admit it.
It's like your hair dye trick. I'm admitting it. I'm not trying to act like I came up with it.
All right, yeah. If we want to go another one, I would like to have a beer with Bill Belichick. I think he knows so much about football, and if you could, Bill Belichick is that. It feels like if you can get him comfortable, and he likes you, he will share everything. So, I'd put him on the list, number 4.
How did your interview with Bill Belichick go? How did that go?
Has yet to happen, but I'm sure it will go great when it does.
Yeah. All right. I don't disagree with that.
You wouldn't? Yeah. Of course you would. I mean, it could go completely
Here's why.
horrible, but the ceiling on that one is out of the chart, out of the world.
He'd have to realize that you're not a member of the media because he's not going to open up if he thinks you're a member of the media and you're going to use anything that he tells you against you at some point later. And the other thing, too, is I've always heard how much fun he is when you get him away from football. So you get him on his boat, right? You get him away from football, and maybe he opens up, maybe he loosens up. And you just got to, the thing about Bill Belichick, and it happens at press conferences every once in a while, he gets asked a question that tickles his fancy, and he talks for like 5 minutes. You get him on some historical football obscure thing. So that would be the challenge. You just kind of sit back and wait for him to find something, for something to naturally come up in the conversation that captures his attention. And I think it could be very rewarding. I'm going to flip it around. And I mentioned Don Shula earlier. And this is kind of like one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Bud Grant and know why he didn't like Vince Lombardi. Don Shula didn't like Bill Belichick. I want to go down that rabbit hole. I want to go all the way. Is it just a Spygate thing? Is there more to it? What didn't you like about Bill Belichick? And obviously, Don Shula, one of the greatest coaches of all time, the 17-0 season. You want stories? Give me stories about going 17-0 back in the days of some rough and tumble football with a quarterback who didn't throw.
Rapid fire. I'll let you go first. 3 current coaches. Go. 3 current coaches.
3 current coaches.
Rapid fire.
Mike Zimmer.
Okay. I'll take Mike Vrabel.
Okay. I will take, Pete Carroll.
Okay, I'll take Bill Belichick.
You already did. You already took Bill Belichick.
All right, fine. I'll take Andy Reid.
All right, Andy Reid's not bad. I will go with Mike McCarthy, Pittsburgh guy.
Okay.
I like hanging out with Pittsburgh guys.
I get the last pick here. I would go.
And I want to I want to get Mike McCarthy drunk. I want to get Mike McCarthy drunk, and I want to hear him talk about Aaron Rodgers. Another benefit.
Ooh. All right. You know what? I can't believe you didn't put this one on. I won this draft as well. I won the supplementary draft because you forgot your best friend, Mike Florio. Sean Payton.
Sean Payton. That's true. Sean Payton. Yeah. I haven't had a beer with any of those guys though, including Sean Payton. But
I've had a glass of wine with Sean Payton once.
Yeah, aren't you fancy? Here's the quote from Bud Grant about Vince Lombardi. Lombardi and I didn't get along. He's a tyrant and he coached that way. Great coach, but he coached with fear and he treated everybody, whether you're the president or the secretary of the club, with bombastic fear. That's Bud Grant talking about why he didn't like Vince Lombardi. And I'm surprised we didn't mention Lombardi. I guess there are plenty of coaches all time that you'd love to just hang around and hear what they have to say and hear their stories. I was surprised you didn't pick George Halas. That's the other coach I was talking about, not Buddy Ryan. I'm surprised that neither of us picked Vince Lombardi, Chuck Noll, Tom Landry. Tom Landry's the kind of guy that had that very stern facade. I have a feeling you kind of get behind that, and there's a different guy there once you take off the fedora and the coat and tie. But a lot of great possibilities, a lot of great personalities that have coached in the NFL over the years. So those are our choices.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.